Welcome back. We have started The Robots of Dawn, Book 3 of the Robot series. And you're about 67%. I don't know what chapter that comes out to.
I need to finish this book. Not in a I love it way.
Yeah. So, I'll just get it out there. We do all kinds of spoilers for that chunk of the book. So, from here on out, spoilers and all that. We both don't like it so much.
Oh my god. Freddie's changed the narrator like 3 times at this point.
Oh, yeah. I know. She can't because I'm listening to it too.
I'm just reading through it. And my god.
Yeah. So what happens, we talked about this before, it's very similar to Foundation 4 and 5. And both of those in the forward to those books, he mentions it's very celebratory, so it's kind of sad. He mentions how you didn't get a lot of recognition in the very early Foundation books, even though they're considered a cornerstone. He won the Triple Crown. He won 3 different of the biggest sci-fi awards. But I guess when they came out, there's a long time that he was not appreciated, and even he was humble. And then with the success, he gets a giant book deal, and the books get twice as long in the 80s, it seems. This book, too, is twice as long as Robot Book 1 and 2.
All I remember is that he had an initial idea for Book 3, and he scrapped it.
Yeah.
Because Book 3 was supposed to take place on a planet where robots and people were balanced out, and it was supposed to be heavy on romance, and this was just heavy on the sex.
Yeah.
This is not for children.
Asimov got that dog.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, this is not. So I feel bad. Funny behind the scenes. I felt we curse a lot and all that, and we get into random tangents, and I'm like, technically, these books should be for elementary school and middle school, but this one is not.
No, this is not.
Foundation, Caves of Steel. I want our kiddo to read that early, but definitely not this one.
Starts off within the first chapter.
Yeah.
Just acknowledging the heavies.
The
lady that... So, chapter 1, Bailey's outside. By the way,
I know.
Shout out to Freddie.
Let's get it out of the way. I'm very humble, but go ahead. Praise me a couple times. Did you get an award made yet, or do you think you're just going to do that soon? It's taken longer than I thought to get my award made. No award.
You get bragging
nothing.
rights.
Get nothing. I have the strangest memory as the running joke on here, and when we started reading the Robot series, I was like, there's a scene where he's sweating, and it's such a great character arc.
Okay, his great memory kept remembering that in every single book up to this point, he was like, there's gonna be a scene where he's sweating under a tree.
Yeah, and then we finished 2 books, and she's like, that's not a thing. But the very, very first sentence to him, this one of my
Elijah Bailey found himself in the shade of the tree and muttered to himself, I knew it, I'm sweating.
I was like, how does my brain remember that? That's so odd.
You have to be kidding
I can't remember what book, but almost the exact opening.
I literally could not.
I guess because part of what I love is he goes, I hate sweating. He felt an annoyance with the universe for making something both essential and unpleasant. Because really, that's the deepest part of this whole robot arc. That these humans are they're overly civilized. They keep trying to
remove the unpleasant from everything.
Yep. And you gotta have both, man. And they're cowards. They become cowards and useless and
one
weirdos.
never perspired unless one wished to, of course, in the city where temperature and humidity were absolutely controlled and where it was never absolutely necessary for the body to perform in ways that made heat production greater than heat removal.
Yeah.
Now that was civilized.
I actually love this first chapter, ironically, that we just went so hard on the intro. I love that he's out there. He's actually, it seems...
I feel like it somewhat did the best of picking up where the others left off. So he's got this group of kids. Oh, I say kids, right? But they're teens, young adults. Mm-hmm. And once a week they go outside and for these people to catch up anyone that doesn't understand, Earth has basically gone into this kind of
it's domed over. They call it Caves of Steel, but it is a dome.
It's the cities have all. There's no suburbia. Everyone just moved into the cities. The cities have become what it's like a new term for the cities, and they're like caves of steels. They're constantly referred to as that because it's a big domed in like building basically.
Yeah, they never see the sunlight. They never feel breezes.
And everyone's like living on top of each other. Everything is communal. Like not everything, but you have
everything
basically
but your house.
apartment.
Yeah.
And
your apartment, of course, not your house.
Yeah, like no, there are no houses. You live in an apartment, and it has however many rooms. Like I think his apartment specifically had like 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms or something. So he's like fancy because he had like a guest room. Most people have enough rooms for like them and their kids. But other than that, there's a communal kitchen. There's a communal bathroom called a personal, which you'll see the term personal used throughout the book. So to get that out there.
That's why them going outside shows such progress and the whole... Yeah. It really, like we said, sometimes it's disjointed, some of these books. But this one flows from the original conclusion of Caves of Steel with the whole movement to try and make Earth people more acclimated to outside and brave enough to go venture out into space. Yeah,
that's the whole idea. Because right now, robots are the only ones that are ever outside because they're farming or mining. So there's this new initiative to get people to colonize the stars again. The stars have been previously colonized, 50 of them, by what we now call spacers, which are X-people. We only say X-people because they've basically excommunicated themselves.
And they do look down on Earthlings as almost subhuman.
They do, but there's also an issue where their planets are so controlled that there's like no disease and no germs. So they literally can't interact with us because they fear that they will die if they catch the flu. Legitimate fear.
Yeah. By the War of the Worlds type beat.
So there's the spacers that live out in space. There's the Earthmen that live on Earth.
But what?
I mean, just to get the terms out there. And, you know, it was really confusing because it's not like he tells you where they live.
Yeah. That was the mystery. Mystery solved, folks. What a great whodunit. We had to figure out where the spacers live. But yeah, all the robots on... Earthlings don't like robots. Spacers love robots and live with tons of robots.
Yep. So that's about the groundwork. So Bailey, he's out there. Elijah Bailey is our main character. He's been our main character for the 3 books. If you're catching us and you're new to this...
Who the hell's catching us at the end?
I don't know.
Go back and listen to Caves of Steel.
Yeah, that's good advice. Honestly, it's a better book.
Yeah, for sure.
Go back to Caves of Steel. Yeah. Enjoy Naked Sun. And suffer through this later with us. Yeah.
Because there's no, even in this first chapter, as I'm skimming through it here, there's none of the issues that are going to be throughout this whole book where he keeps stretching out these conversations that are unnecessarily winded.
I feel like he got bored. Like, he came up with this idea, and then he was like, this was not that great.
Yeah, maybe. He was getting his freak on or something. Because like you said, if you had a graph of sexual activity in Asimov books, it just hits 1,000.
He just needed to get laid.
Well, he got it from a heart transplant. From a heart surgery, blood transplant.
I get it, but if Blue Balls could be a book.
Yeah, I know. It is thirsty, as the youth say. It does seem like it's written a bit by, like I said, it's spoilers here. The lady where I'm at, I literally just got to the part where she's getting off with her robot. She's never had an orgasm before, and now she's banging robots. I'm just sorry. One robot. I just never, her husband.
Like, with the way that he writes all the other books, he's so eloquent, and he's so this, and he's so that, formal, and I didn't think that we would be talking about a character literally experiencing an orgasm.
Now, I hate that this pun came to me from Espiritu Sancti. Apologies. There's a comedy spirit out there. So maybe not Sancti, but some Espiritu.
What happened?
Did you see that coming?
He definitely did it.
Okay. I really did see it coming.
That's what she said.
Okay. I did though. I don't know. You didn't see that? But like, I was like, somebody's banging a robot here or something. There's like too much.
No, because I was too caught up. But you haven't gotten to the part that I have. Like, do you know how kids work on this planet?
No, but just tell me it's okay.
No, I don't even want to tell you.
Oh, yeah, because his daughters. Okay. All right, guys.
It's like so important that I just let Freddy. I almost want to catch it on video.
It'll be on part 2.
I need his honest reaction.
Now, this is hilarious if the listener knows what you're talking about and is also traumatized and has to save it for part 2. Basically, I'm going to sum up hours of there's a murder. The murder is not a murder. The robot has ceased to live, and there's a whole long-winded debate on what we should call it. Should we call it? And eventually they settle on roboticide.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah. So Bailey's outside. He gets a call to go in. He goes into the office. He's a policeman.
There was that cool scene, the foreshadowing with the robot starts to kind of glitch out from not being able to get Bailey to come back inside. So
there's a new term that's introduced into book 3. It's called Roblox.
Yeah. No relation to Roblox, the great game.
I actually think there's total relation to the game Roblox. Side rant, if anyone ever wants to hear it, let me know. I will be happy to go into it.
I want to hear it. Basically, the youth are being programmed and they're a bunch of robots. Yes, because
the whole concept of Roblox is that you give a robot 2 conflicting orders and it gets stuck in like a loop. And it's so traumatizing. Or not traumatizing. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like it's actually destructive. Like the brain actually ends up like exploding from trying to figure out what direction or order to follow.
Yeah.
And which to prioritize, and it like fries the brain. So that's why it's called Roblox, and it can be very expensive to replace because they actually have to like fix.
Yeah, Bailey jokes that if he keeps pushing this thing, they're taking that out of his paycheck.
Yeah.
If he Roblox this robot. And that's, of course, going to be a huge theme. Okay.
Because what happened is that the robot comes up and it says, "Oh, I have orders for you to come back to headquarters." And he says, "Yes, well, let's see how strong the order is. R. Geronimo, go back to headquarters and tell them I'll work at an 0900. Then sharply, go back. That's an order." The robot hesitated perceptibly, then moved away, turned again, made an attempt to come back toward Bailey, and finally remained in one spot, its whole body vibrating. Bailey recognized it for what it was and muttered to Ben, "I may have to go, Jehoshaphat." What was troubling the robot was what the roboticists call an equipotential of contradiction on the second level. Obedience was the second law, and R. Geronimo was now suffering from 2 roughly equal and contradictory orders. Robot block was what the general population called it, or more frequently, roadblock for short. Slowly, the robot turned. Its original order was the stronger, but not by much, so that its voice was slurred. "Master, I was told you might say that. If so, I was to say..." It paused, then added hoarsely, "I was to say, if you are alone."
Yeah, and that's... The foreshadowing is even on Earth, robots, they have this issue, and of course the more advanced super robots that we're going to meet Daniil again, and...
The expense of what it would take out of his salary, it might easily amount to a year's pay.
Yeah.
The damage. For a moment, Bailey played irritably with the notion of strengthening his own order and making the roadblock more nearly complete, but that would surely cause the kind of damage that would require positronic analysis and reprogramming.
So, when you got these even more advanced robots like Daniil... and Jander.
No, I forget this other robot's name. It starts with the G.
Yeah, we call him Gascon.
He's super important. I don't remember his name.
Which is insane. But it is kind of sad because by the time you start to meet all these dudes, it starts to fade out. The book takes so long to get to certain things, and as I'm thinking about the highlights, they are there,
many names, by the way.
But they fill it in so much. A thing that you might notice, I don't know if people online haven't actually looked at reviews because we don't want spoilers yet, so the second or third talk on this will be interesting. But like we said, if the food thing, he drags out all kinds of conversations with the food thing. He gets into kind of not that interesting philosophical debates. Like there's a whole language thing, like I was saying.
Like 30 times he's pointed out that the food is so different than on Earth where it's super processed. I'm like, all right, bro.
Yeah, you think you're watching one of these Netflix food shows or something.
I don't know if like he feels like maybe
Asimov was starving in both ways, and he had blue balls.
That, or maybe he feels that because he went into such depth in Caves of Steel, and he wanted each book to be a book that could be read as a standalone.
Yeah.
He might feel he needs to really emphasize this, but...
Yeah, because we said throughout most of these that some of these books, they're all supposed to be standalone books in some degree.
Yeah, I assume you wanted for a reader to be able to pick this up by accident and not be totally lost.
Yeah.
But I feel like one good...
Yeah, Giscard is who you're thinking.
Yeah. One good funny. Conversation on this...
pronounces it funny.
Could have...
Go ahead.
You're who?
The narrator for the audiobook.
Oh,
go ahead.
I heard something else.
Go ahead.
One good conversation or breakdown on how Earth literally is living off of yeast and how the spacer planets are living off of actual food, and you can see like bone or pieces of meat or where it came from. I really think there was a couple paragraphs where he did a good job of it, and I don't think we needed to constantly be reminded how it's that. And then my new favorite that I keep finding is if Bailey is on the spacer world any longer, he will surely become accustomed to XYZ. And it will be harder for him to integrate back into society.
Even from the way they talk, from the way they act, from using the personal, the way they go to the bathroom, to the food they eat. The longer I'm here
and I get used to having a bathroom, the less I want to go back to a communal bathroom. And the longer I'm here and eat really good food, the less I want to go back and eat yeast mush.
And again, it's sad to be that simple with it. He was paid to write longer books. Because he mentioned they never had a budget. I forget the company.
That was
with Foundation 4 and 5.
Yeah, but I have a feeling something similar has to have happened. Because
this was written around the same time.
That or when he approached a publisher, they were like, you can't, it needs to be longer. We're not printing this shit.
Which is strange, because this came out in 83, which I think Foundation 4 and 5 came out around around 83 and 86, I think. So... I don't know. Like I said, I didn't look into reviews, but I did see some people liked it, but I don't know. I think people will either be confused at our take or really sympathize and see like once we start to point this out, you're going to realize, I feel like we're the goddamn MyFitnessPal app. I feel like I know everything he ate all day.
Oh, yeah. I have a caloric
Yeah. Yeah, you know exactly. If we can track Bailey's macros throughout his adventure. You actually kind of
can. There was one meal that was shrimp. There was one meal that I swear was like anchovies or sardines.
Don't fall to the dark side. We're going to do it in the pod. It's going to be too meta. We're going to end up talking about the food that we hate in the book, and then that's going to make up 90% of our review.
Oh,
we got to do better.
Okay.
We don't.
You're right.
That's too dark a joke. We don't have HIV. Rest in peace, requiescat in pace. We've mentioned before that we both felt very bad because we were going ham. We were ripping. We really did not like Foundation 5, and he was suffering.
The truth is, we're having a hard time getting through this book, y'all. Like, yeah, I'm a fairly fast reader, and we are on day,
I don't know, three or four
something like that. Me reading this book,
and what sucks is,
which I know sounds.
But she really is
too
fast
short or dramatic
reader.
But
what sucks is there is some potential here.
I also read when the baby's sleeping.
And we'll see. Look, I have hopes that it'll at least be redeemed by some cool concept or idea at the end, I hope. Because Foundation 5 sucked because of the bad concept and ideas too.
I'm so nervous that this is for nothing.
What are your theories so far? Nothing? What are your best theories?
Best theory?
You can spoil it because we told them it's up to 60% of the book anyways.
Okay. The thing is that Bailey gets called to Aurora because a robot named Jander, who looks exactly like Daniil, has been put into RoboBlock. Horrible case. It's basically robo-murder or robocide, as you said.
Roboticide.
Or is agreed upon. Robocide sounds cooler.
Okay. But go play your Roblox.
Roboticide.
This is up through chapter 12, by the way, or 51, however you want to word that.
Yeah, because there's the actual chapter, and then there's all these little sections with numbers.
Yeah, so final warning.
Which he actually might have been doing that the whole 51. Whatever.
Yeah, go ahead.
So,
so
we're going to run into a bunch of characters that we know, because he's been called there. The person who is currently the biggest suspect for this case is Dr. Fastilov.
Dr. Falafel Foff. I don't know why you can't read this name. Fastolf. There's another guy named Ulf. Think of his name.
Fastolf.
And then make it fast. Instead of odd, it's fast.
Fastolf.
Fastolf. Fastolf. Yeah.
Fastolf.
There's a whole thing. Fastolf is in Caves of Steel. He's our
He was the doctor that originally implanted the idea in our head to go out into the stars and got Bailey started on this whole movement of colonizing the stars. Colonization. It has been a long day. Okay. In my defense,
it appears it has.
This book has been rough.
I'm going to talk like the narrator for Daniil.
The baby has been clinging to me like a Velcro.
Mm-hmm. She has been attacked by her baby, and we have a baby cam, so we'll see if there's any baby breaks throughout this.
So
but
in my defense, I'm thoroughly drained.
You're thoroughly positronic brain drained.
I am also passionately frustrated with this book.
Fastolf is a great character, but they keep dragging out. He's one of the best vectors for Asimov's personal, like I said earlier to her, I was like, it's like it's just a collection of ideas and cool things he wants to talk about, so he just makes Fastolf say them, and I was going nuts. It gets so long into the book where before he says, like, well, here's what I think happened, here's my theory on what happened, but he keeps teasing it. There's literally like 3 or 4 times where he's gonna tell him, and he goes on a random rant,
tangent, and then Bailey's like, but you haven't answered the question. He's like, oh yes, the question.
Yeah. And like I said, he was getting paid to write longer books by the publisher. That one of them is also fan servicey, which sucks to see again. That's what I said happened in Foundation 5. Some of the mini rants are what happens in Star Wars or any other major and like AAA kind of, famous fandom. The whole thing is to trigger people who are more in the know, so that you say you're an Asimov fan and you say, yeah, Harry Seldon made Psychohistory, and I go, oh, you didn't read The Robots at Dawn? No. Oh, well, actually, Fastolf was working on that theory. He even called it Psychohistory. He just couldn't figure out how to do it. Like, it is Harry Seldon years later. So, as someone who loves lore and diving in deep and all that and world building, but it does suck to see that's the dark side, the toxic side of lore, where it's like, you're just making it up for the sake of new content.
But it kind of was Fastolf at the end, because, all right, this is me being an Asimov nerd. Yeah, but I like it. I know what you mean, because it's Daniil at the end. Because technically, we haven't finished Foundation Prelude, or Foundation Forward, but I have a feeling that Daniil is going to get involved with Seldon. And if that's true, Daniil and Fastolf.
Perfect. You did it. You did it good.
Okay.
You're good.
I don't know why my brain was like, did we though?
Yeah. Daniil says in 5.
Why is the L silent?
There's a very famous person with a mustache who shall not be named, who has a very similar ending to his name that could really help you pronounce it. Fastolf.
Ulf.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Oh, because I say Fastolf.
Mm-hmm. How do you fly through books with this dyslexia? Your dyslexia is so contagious, you earthling, that you just gave it to me. You just said dyslexia. Dilelilulilo. Point is, Fastolf, Jesus. Daniil says at the end of Foundation 5 that he has been guiding. He's been the dead hand in a way. He's not even alive. He has been guiding everything,
including the creation of Psychohistory.
Like, he put it in, Harry Seldon's head, or at least set up the pieces, because I love it, all these, if you listen to that talk, I don't know that Daniil is a good guy. I don't know if Asimov is trying to make some deeper point, that even though we love Daniil, here's a fear we should have of robots, because they're going to try and finagle us. He's trying to guide civilization because he's trying to protect us, but it's this weird nanny state thing that he keeps establishing.
So, we get to Aurora. Mm-hmm. On our way to Aurora, we meet Giscard,
and they portray him as he is less intelligent than the other two, or at least that's what we're supposed to think.
You're supposed to think that is being portrayed as that. If you were with us for the Foundation books, you've probably heard his name before.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure that he's got mental reading abilities.
And that's not such a spoiler if you're reading up to where we've already read, because Fastoff says there was an old myth of that.
There's an old myth, and there's someone else that has tampered with him to begin with. I'm not going to tell you who. You haven't read that far yet.
Yeah.
But also, like, someone tampered with his programming, but also there are multiple times where Bailey will have a feeling, like he'll be feeling scared, or he'll be feeling insecure, or he'll be feeling nervous, and Giscard always is like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah. Like, how does he know it?
Yeah.
And thematically, once you read enough Asimov, you realize whenever he introduces a new tech or like a new thing, it's going to be related to the plot somehow.
Yeah.
And I was saying that everything from the actually pretty cool, I don't know why, I really like the what do you want to call it? The 3D in first person viewer mode technology that's in their starships. Because when it activates, he feels like he's actually in space. It's like he's out of body. He's like a floating spirit.
That was a cool. So he's on his way to Aurora, and Daniil is actually on the ship with him, and so is Giscard. They've been assigned to him to help protect him because the people of Aurora have become very. They describe it as high emotions are running or something like that, where people are just really angry, and they're not exactly happy to hear that he's being brought in to investigate this thing.
A dirty Earth man.
Yeah, so they've been technically assigned to him to protect him, which
it's kind of all right. Are you annoyed at my point that from the original I was like, oh, the robots can protect us all the time. Like, couldn't you just blow them up? So Fastoff even mentions at one point,
no,
snipers and explosives. Don't worry about it.
I feel like they are assigned to him more to monitor him.
Oh yeah.
Than to protect him. But the point is, everyone on this planet tends to have a robot with them, and the robots all kind of protect because of the 3 laws.
Yeah, and they can move super fast, and
we'll get to Fastoff. Let's run through it real quick. So we're on the ship. Bailey's kind of sad, but he's also happy because he's been trying to get to Aurora. His son literally is like, do you want to go to Aurora because that's where you sent your other girlfriend?
Yeah, because Titty's McGee's out there.
Yeah, and Bailey's like, no, I want to go to Aurora because Aurora is the biggest, most powerful spacer planet. And he's hoping to convince them that they should allow Earthmen to go out and colonize uninhabited planets. But to do that, they need ships. The spacers basically took all the ship technology with them.
Yeah.
The Earthmen have absolutely no way of getting off the planet right now. So they're basically going to try to convince Aurora to lend them ships to do this.
Yeah.
If he can't get them to do that, then he's screwed. However, what's happening on Aurora does also affect us because Fastoff. I got it. Fastoff is kind of like, I want to say he's high up. I don't know if he's technically the president, but he's high up there.
Yeah, they act. Yeah.
I don't know what he is. It's kind of confusing. But he's high up there and he has a lot of influence. And he's been pushing to help everyone want this colonizing and to help Earth get off planet and all this stuff. But there's a very strong opposition to him because I forgot his party's name, but the opposition's called the Globalists. So the Globalists of Aurora don't want Earth people to colonize the other planets. What they want to do is send out specifically robots like Daniil that are human form to go out ahead of them and basically tame the planet for them.
Yeah, therefore make it all,
just make it Aurora 2,
for
Aurora
humans.
3, Aurora 4, and then just spread out in that direction.
Yeah.
Fastoff's biggest fear is that if we allow this, the same stagnation that's being seen on Aurora is just going to continue.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to get worse. And like we saw with Solaria in the last book, they know that it's not sustainable. You need this dynamic tension, this fighting against nature itself, which was, the part of that opening sentence with him sweating and all that. And Fastoff realizes that would be lost, or is already lost on all the spacer worlds.
It's lost on the spacer. He knows the spacer worlds have X amount of time to live. Like they're they have no real... Part of it is that these people live for so long.
It's been memed to death, but it's the hard men create... There's a hilarious comic that makes fun of it. Hard men create easy times, easy times make soft men make hard times make strong men. So it's just that cycle. And so the spacer people had to be brave as hell to go out there and colonize worlds, and how many people died and how many people suffered.
They're so distant. They're so separated from the people. Like the spacers of this time are so... They see the original spacers as ancestors of Earthmen.
Yeah.
Like they don't even see themselves as the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is kind of nuts. True today. I mean, how many people... We live in America... And nobody could rough it out like any of the Americans, whether Native Americans or even American colonists. Like, that's how they feel. They are almost qualitatively different. They would literally die if they didn't have XYZ, comfort. Yeah. And so these spacer worlds, ironically, can create no new spacers. So.
I mean, right now they can, but I have a feeling.
Yeah. Anyways, he's on the ship and he's going to Aurora. That's when you get the cool... machine that takes him out of body. And
so he's stuck in his room because there are other people on the ship, unlike the first time he went to Solaria where there was no one. So they basically told him he has to stay a prisoner. And Daniil and Giskeard also agree with this because it's easier to protect him if he's not running around his ship.
Yeah.
This is partly where he's like, well, what if the ship explodes? Or what if they tampered with it and on landing it explodes? Like, what's the point of protecting me?
Yeah, aren't there bigger things? A goddamn meteor, an asteroid could take us out.
And they're like, well, we're going to at least try to protect you from... Anyway, that's one of those little conversations that you're like, why are we having this conversation?
One of those super long, unnecessary things that does unravel the whole specialness.
It kills the momentum of this book.
But it does
so much.
Point out, like, is it Asimov realizing, like, yeah, man, the three laws... It wasn't that deep to find holes in the three laws, or even the culture that acts like they're perfectly safe because of the robots.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I hated that conversation. He brings up, we got to have these long-winded, page-long side tangents on food, on naming conventions. But then when he brings up, when Bailey says, couldn't somebody just shoot us or him or use an explosive? He goes, that's not a concern here. You literally get a sentence of like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That's too hard for my already established world building. So, moving on.
This is the first book where we get it down to, like, this is how different the hours on this planet are compared to yours.
Oh my god. What got into Asimov's mind that people want to care about? The whole metric system's little fucking petty rant? That's just, oh my god. Example. There's a whole thing on like how, which is clearly about America not adopting the metric system. And it's like, yeah, they used to hate it. They used to think they could never be without it, but now they got this and that. And it was so cumbersome before we standardized the unit, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I get it. And that's what I mean by little conversations or ideas that he just wants to force into the narrative that have nothing to do with why did this humaniform robot that's supposed to be as smart as Daniil just lock out? Because nobody in the entire universe could do that to him. Like they say, we get another impossible crime like Solaria. It follows the same form. We know the only person who could have done it also wouldn't have done it or couldn't have
that's
done it.
What the claim is right now.
Yeah, because only Fastoff understands.
Because that's the whole premise. Because basically Fastoff is the one that built and designed these robots. And Daniil has a brother named Jander, who's the second human robot ever built. And he's been murdered. And Fastoff claims, I say claims because we haven't finished yet.
Yeah.
He claims that he is not only the creator, and not only does he love his creation, but he is also the only one that could have possibly put it into a mental block. Because it's the positronic brain on these robots like Daniil are so sophisticated that in order to get it into a positronic block, like, a robo block, even though Bailey was able to do it to the robot on Earth so easy.
Yeah, but it's simple.
Fastoff says you literally have to be his level of roboticist theorist.
And when Bailey pushes, technically couldn't somebody say something on accident even, like, that could lock him out?
Like,
he compares it to, it's like saying, I don't know the way to this, let's say, mountaintop. Like, it's unlikely somebody then up there, but you could see it. He goes, it's more unlikely than somebody walking across tight ropes in between skyscrapers or something. Like slippery wires, like the odds that you would be able to walk.
He gives some ridiculous version of why it's so crazy, but it's supposed to just, in summary...
Oh, he even said 10 to the power of 12 or something like that, like impossibility.
It was like 10 to the power of 12 that... the positronic brain could have just basically
that you
had
say
a hardware
the right
issue and melted.
Yeah, because
or
there's random
10 to 100 that someone accidentally got it into a freeze out on accident.
Because because the other theory is just it's drift, positronic
I probably
drift.
Have it highlighted
somewhere. No, you do. But the positronic drift, the odds that something at the quantum level, even the electrical level, just went randomly wrong is also, numerically impossible.
The coolest thing about this whole ship ride is that Bailey's trying to use the time to learn more about Aurora. So he's watching book films on Aurora. In the meantime, he is kind of struggling because he all of a sudden really wants to see outside. He really wants to see like the approach.
He's trying to be brave.
Yeah, he's really trying to combat this fear of being outside, and then because the robots are like, we don't think you should do that, he's like, well, now I really want to do it because you guys aren't allowed to tell me not to. Yeah. There is something about his character that hasn't changed in any of the books, and it's kind of like a stubbornness.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I mean, if you tell me no, now I have to do it. So they bring him what's called a astro simulator, I think.
Something like that.
And it's basically this really cool machine that reminds us of the computer in Foundation 4 and 5 on the ship. So Daniil pressed the control edge and Bailey shouted in a strangled way. Bailey had expected the cubicle to light up and display within itself a holographic representation of a star field. That was not what happened. Instead, Bailey found himself in space with bright, unblinking stars in all directions. Did you see it too, Daniil? Yes, but very poorly and without the realism a human being experiences. I see the dim outline of a scene superimposed upon the still clear contents of the room, but it has been explained to me that human beings see the scene only, undoubtedly when the brains of those such as myself are still more finely tuned and adjusted. The point is, Daniil, that I was aware of nothing else. I was not aware of myself. I did not see my hands or sense where they were. I felt as though I were a disembodied spirit, or as I imagine I would feel if I were dead, but were consciously existing in some sort of immaterial afterlife.
Yeah. I think something about this tech is going to be important in the final mystery, because he brings it up again, that even their bathrooms, like you go in there and then you're just out in the woods or some shit.
Yeah, it
like
messes
visually,
with your head.
Yeah, it's like a augmented reality with glasses. It's just a projection overlay. And so it's one-to-one, just like on Solaria, where you saw people, you couldn't tell the difference if they're in the room or not. It was that realistic. They, do this, holographic designs to change any space they want.
Oh, and so it's not just a hologram, though. Like, the difference between this and
beams
the
into your brain.
This actually, so this is so realistic that Bailey makes a mistake where he wants to watch them approach the planet, but he stays in the simulator for too long, and the ship actually begins its descent, and he starts to feel like he's descending through the clouds into the planet. And because it's been described, like I just read the quote, where he can't feel his hands or his body, or he literally starts to like panic, and he's like on the brink of basically passing out when Giscard comes running in.
Of having a mental breakdown.
Yeah. And
so it's similar to our robotic breakdown here.
Daniil doesn't realize it's happening, but Giscard somehow does, and that was my first tip-off where I was like, this boy is connected. Because he was outside the room, I believe, when that happened.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, I'm trying to find where that was exactly. But it says because it stimulates it in your brain, because there's a whole back and forth with Daniil saying, I don't know. To us, we see it we see both. We see it as like an overlay. We don't actually get fully immersed.
So much of the computer on the ship in Foundation, whenever they would display the maps, and Travis and Pellerat were constantly like, highlighting this or spinning or moving, like time.
Yeah, but that still felt a little bit like just a holographic display, at least in my head.
No, because Travis used to be able to like.
Yeah, that's true. And he's touching it.
To just think, you didn't have to actually control anything.
Hey, look, we even get to play with the touch because Galadia is going to go on a whole thing about how touch and different people.
We're gonna the robots. Get there
we'll get there. Moment. We'll get there.
We're literally about to land on the planet, and I know we're sounding like Asimov right now, but
yeah, right. With the rambles, who are we to pick on Asimov's rambles? Rambles and brambles. Go ahead. So we land on the planet, and we run around.
So
we probably talk about random shit.
Immediately, we land on the planet. Immediately, the first person we're going to talk to is Fastov. He basically is going to tell us that he's in a situation where he's the only person that could have killed Jander, the robot, but he didn't kill him.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, that is the whole story. It's either positronic drift, the random quantum electrical interference. That seems mathematically almost impossible.
Yeah.
But also he knows he didn't do it. Like he says, even Bailey says, how do I just got to believe that you didn't do it. But why would you lie to me? It's strange.
They do some eating.
Yeah, because Bailey and his goals do align.
And Fastov uses an opportunity. Yeah, he uses multiple opportunities to test Bailey. So that hologram that you were talking about in the bathroom, Bailey basically is like, because they're gonna go walk to the next person's house because the person that
in the outdoors.
Yeah, they have to go from one estate to another.
There's no tubes.
Because the person at the other estate had the robot on loan, and the robot's actually over there right now. So they're going to talk to both the person that had been loaned the robot and see the robot body. So before they're going to go, Fastov is like, Mr. Bailey, why don't you go use the bathroom? Horrible accent. I know, no origin.
Yeah, you read it, so I don't want to. There's no accents. At least my audiobook can have bad accents.
So Bailey goes to use the bathroom, and it's all like the entire bathroom has a hologram of it where it's like basically you're just going to go pee outdoors.
Yeah. As in the woods. The ultimate dude
He's in there
setup.
for 20 minutes trying to figure out how to pee inside of the
like,
toilet.
What are you, banging our robots?
Literally they knock on the door and they're like, Mr. Bailey, you've been in there 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Do we need to go in and save you?
Yeah.
Oh, another.
Like, I got to make sure I'm thinking straight when I meet Galadia.
So.
But the whole point of that was to test if he was scared of the outdoors, to see how freaked out he would be.
If he would break.
Yeah. Basically. Would he go into a...
So he doesn't, and then they're going to walk from... Oh, wait. When did he also... Did you read where he goes to throw the...
Oh, yeah. He gets in a whole fight with him just to prove that the robots could stop him, like just so Bailey could see how quick the robots would stop him. Fastov acts like he's going to attack him for accusing him of stuff.
Bailey realizes that his death would be an opportune thing for Fastov because I forget why. It was an entire rant, but basically him being brought to Aurora and dying there could be used in Fastov's benefit.
Yeah.
So he could tell the robots to be slow and not save him. So Fastov threatens to like throw something at him, and the robots immediately jump up. So that was like to prove that Fastov isn't going to let anything happen to Bailey.
Yeah.
Then they're walking from one estate to another, and Fastov stops. Like he's walking super slow, and I was like, "This dude." This is like test number 3. They're walking super slow, and in between two estates, he like stops to have a mini rant, and then he's like, "Oh, I wonder why we stopped. I wonder why. Like, let's keep going."
Yeah.
So they continue, and then when we meet the next person, we find out that he had purposely told the next person he was going to do that so that he could test if Mr. Bailey could handle being outside.
Yeah. Yeah, tons of tests, and like I said, those are all the rants. It's where you hear the whole psychohistory, fan service conversation.
Yeah.
He mentions in there, part of this is to make sure people understand that like he's so qualitatively above all the other robo researchers out there.
Yeah, actually, of the theoretical roboticists on Aurora, hi Ben.
That's our Dougie.
Of the theoretical roboticists on Aurora, not one, except for myself, understands the workings of Daniil's positronic brain. Dr. Sarton did, the guy that was murdered in Book 1, but he is dead. And he did not understand it as well as I do. The basic theory is mine. Fastoff.
And they get into a whole thing on...
Yeah, has no one learned the theory? Fastoff shook his head firmly. Not one. I have taught no one, and I defy any other living roboticist to have developed the theory on his own. If you die then, the new science dies with you. I'm only 165 years old. That's metric years, of course, so it's only 124 of your Earth years, more or less. I'm still quite young by Auroran standards, and there is no medical reason why my life should be considered even half over. It is not entirely unusual to reach an age of 400 years, metric years. There is yet plenty of time to teach.
Because, they all use robots, but Daniil is uniquely different. He's the most human-like. Very human. We'll see in a second.
Yeah.
Very inhuman, actually. But so they're walking to the thing. What happened?
I really hate... So sometimes it's late at night or I'm holding a baby and it's really hard for me to type these notes. And this is just gibberish. Well, the Kindle... Okay, only criticism I have of the Kindle. The keyboard sucks. It is so hard to type on that thing.
That's funny.
And it, lags.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Because I highlighted why was this brought up. Didn't a man kill himself? Oh, yeah.
To get more...
do you think that any of them would dream of designing a robot so human in appearance that it would activate their neurosis? They would so avoid the possibility of approaching him since he would look so human that they could make no reasonable use of him. He's kind of talking about Solaria and why Aurora is the only place to have designed a robot that looks like a person.
Yeah.
And he's like, Solarians wouldn't have done it because they literally can't interact.
They don't like people, yeah. Whereas here, that's going to be a thing that helps bridge the gap. We also learned they're pretty open with most people don't use the R here for to designate a robot. They seem to be more integrated in general, which is funnier because then they don't look humanoid. It really is just Daniil and Janda, right? The dead one.
They're the only ones that look humanoid.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I hate this little section here. Might not a Solarian here or there display a surprising tolerance for the human body? How can you be sure? Even if a Solarian could, which I do not deny, there are no Solarian nationals on Aurora this year. None? Where's Gladia?
Yeah, that's funny.
I literally wrote that. I was like, I know she's here.
Yeah, they all say she's here.
Why are you saying this?
That's so weird. That's just Asimov trying to throw us off.
Yeah.
Or, that's weird. Because he knows Bailey knows her. I'm like, well, because he wants to hide her identity because she gets into a whole thing with...
He wants to hide it because it's supposed to be a mystery who you're going to, who's the state you're going to next.
Yeah.
And of course you get there and who's standing at the door? Gladia.
She got to hear me listening to the audiobook earlier. I'm like, it's Gladia. It's Gladia. Because it takes so long, these conversations.
It's like 3 hours.
Here we come up to this door. Who could it be at the house? Then we'll see who it is. And it's like, it's Gladia. I know who it is already. That's going to be your plot twist. And he even does his old classic Asimov cliffhanger at the end of the chapter, which is usually great. But over here, it's just tiresome.
These have been tiresome.
Yeah.
Literally, there's one where it's like, he bought himself time, but how much?
No way. That's funny. I don't remember that where I didn't get there yet.
You didn't get there yet.
Yeah.
Now that I've said it,
when I see it.
You're going to laugh.
But yeah, that's the big reveal that the dead robot, or the frozen out robot, however you want to word it, was not owned, but in the employ, was being used.
She was loaning it, and of course, in her most dramatic fashion, she's like, "My husband died, and now my robot, everything I touch dies."
Literally. Well, you touched Bailey too. There's a whole super long section. I mean, to be fair, you had the same reaction when we met, so I can't. It was kind of realistic banter, because she says that when she touched his cheek, she literally almost,
No, she said she did.
Oh yeah, she did. Well. So it's exactly like our story then. Yeah.
I was trying to stay as quiet as
just
possible.
give a face.
The only thing I wanted to touch on with Fastoff is the story of Susan Calvin, which Fastoff is always laughing because he knows all these stories of people that supposedly originate from Earth. And every time he tells Bailey a story, Bailey's like, who? He's like, I don't understand how you don't know these people.
Yeah.
So she was a demigod to all spacers, so much so that I imagine that few spacers who are not actually roboticists think of her as an Earth woman.
Yeah.
Wow, my baby's just keep an eye on just.
Yeah, I got you. I just want to check.
It would seem a profanation.
Where are you?
Whatever. They would refuse to believe it if they were told that she died after having lived scarcely more than 100 metric years, and yet you know her only as an early pioneer.
Which is how they are biologically so much different from us. They live twice as long. They live like 3 or 4 times as long as people. Shit, almost 5 times.
Oh.
So they see humans as almost biologically different. Baby break. We'll be back. All right, we're back. Baby's all right. Susan Calvin. Yeah. The Earthling.
What I just want to touch on.
Our dog is scratching himself on the couch. He's never done this. And it's just super loud. It's like tuk 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 tuk. I doubt they could hear it, but You were saying?
So one of the most famous legends about her has to do with her robot.
Mm-hmm.
It concerns a robot manufactured in those primitive days that, through some accident in the production lines, turned out to have telepathic abilities.
And you remember this from the iRobot series, from the Robot series short stories?
No.
Mm-hmm. But as interesting as it is, like you could see it as he's building on it, but still, you got the issue of fan servicey stuff, where I don't think that's true. I think the Harry Seldon shit was fan servicey. This, I do think, is going to be the plot. Like you said, there's a telepathic something going on here. But, go ahead.
But I think it's good to just review. Mm-hmm. The robot, according to the tale, could read minds, and when asked questions, he read the questioner's mind and told the questioner what he wanted to hear. Now, the first law of robotics states quite clearly that a robot may not injure a human being or through an action allow a person to come to harm. But to robots generally, that means physical harm. A robot who can read minds, however, would surely decide that disappointment or anger or any violent emotion would make the human being feeling these emotions unhappy, and the robot would interpret the inspiring of such emotions under the heading of harm. If then a telepathic robot knew that the truth might disappoint or enrage a questioner or cause the person to feel envy or unhappiness, he would tell a pleasing lie instead. So the robot lied, even to Susan Calvin herself. The lies could not long continue, for different people were told different things that were not only inconsistent among themselves, but unsupported by the gathering evidence of reality, you see. Susan Calvin discovered she had been lied to and realized that those lies had led her into a position of considerable embarrassment that would have disappointed her somewhat to begin with had now, thanks to false hopes, disappointed her unbearably. Calvin took her revenge. She pointed out to the robot, whether he told the truth or told a lie, he would equally harm the person with whom he dealt. He could not obey the first law, whatever action he took. The robot, understanding this, was forced to take refuge in total inaction. If you want to put it colorfully, his positronic pathways burned out. His brain was irrecoverably destroyed. The legend goes on to say that Calvin's last word to the destroyed robot was liar.
Interesting.
Now hearing it condensed without
the padding of multiple pages.
Yeah. What do you...
For the future of the book, you mean? Like, what do I think it's going to apply?
Leading into meeting with Gladia.
Yeah.
We find out that she fell in love.
She's in love with the robot.
Well, I don't even know if she's in love with him, but she decided that...
She felt like he could have loved her. You're talking about Bailey?
No, the robot.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
there's a whole thing that
we find out that she felt that Bailey could have loved her.
Yeah.
And
her husband, they all have the prearranged marriages back on Solaria. They never actually get intimate, even though they do put parts together. Turns out but it's still
might have gotten intimate with him. I don't know. It's kind of
with her husband.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean, but it wasn't intimate. It was. They put parts together.
She never orgasmed.
Yep. That's what we're saying. Asimov goes ham on how she starts playing with herself.
The word. I can say the word.
Mm-hmm. But she looks up old stuff from primitive Earthling stories.
Didn't have anything good.
Yeah. Well, they didn't even talk about doing it.
They didn't have.
That wasn't even like a word. Yep. And they didn't have any kind of
canceled.
I know. Yeah, not for that. She learns to play with herself, but still never actually blows.
Nope. So she comes to Aurora. First, before coming to Aurora, she touches Bailey for the first time. And Bailey had been the first person with that had looked upon her with eyes that seemed like they could love her or some bullshit like that.
I was saying it's so funny that it's the trope of the woman falls in love with a werewolf or some sort of almost non-human half animal kind of thing. A vampire even. Yeah. Because he's an Earthman, so he's both dangerous.
She even says, she's like, you weren't really human because you were Earthman.
And these spacers, they become so genetically different that it's almost like the difference between Homo sapien and Homo neanderthals and stuff like that. They see themselves as a little bit biologically different even.
So, she confesses that that's why she thinks that touching him was such a big deal and why she felt like she could touch him and no one else. She comes to Aurora, and on Aurora, things are a little different. Sex is not monogamous.
Like Asimov does a bit on the nose, but he always just flips between the extremes. Like back on Aurora, nobody even liked to do it. It was obligatory and weird.
On Solaria.
Oh yeah, sorry. And
on Solaria, it was such a disgusting thing.
Yeah. Again, they didn't even like to see each other, so imagine having sex. And then on Aurora, they're going all out. She even says if somebody's just not busy, as long as they're not, literally can't have sex. If they can, most people will just
It's a very casual
oblige.
thing. You offer yourself, and they can accept or decline. Mm-hmm. And it's just a social thing.
Yeah.
And even if you're married, you can offer yourself to someone, and there's a whole section. I'm dying for you. I want to tell you about and talk about so bad.
It'll be an interesting reason to listen to part 2 of our talks because
it was disturbing and I really just need.
Oh my God. With his kids? Is that what you're getting at?
I'm not finishing.
Okay.
There's layers. That's all I'm saying.
That's the only thing I can put up. She keeps bringing up that have I got to the part with Fast Off and his kids, and now you just brought that up again after everybody doesn't even think that it's weird. So we'll see. I haven't got that far, so we'll see.
There's layers.
Part 2.
There's layers to this.
Yeah. But so it also wasn't romantic for her to sleep around on Aurora. Because it also didn't have the zing. She was having a lot of
trouble with it. She actually ended up sleeping around with a few people, and it wasn't just that. It was kind of, she felt like it set her back. I think, So.
But her robot buddy.
She's gifted this robot, and
he was gifted too.
He was, because what happened was
you don't build a perfect robot and not.
Oh, I might have to go check on her again.
Okay, one quick baby break.
Wait.
We're back.
All right. So what we find out was that Gladia had a robot that was exactly like Daniil, and unlike other robots which are designed to look like they're wearing clothes but are not, these robots, which are designed to be human as possible, wear clothes. Mm-hmm. So she, of course, in her eccentric artist way, was like, I would like to have a wardrobe made for my robot. And she had to measure him very closely and naked.
Yeah.
And in measuring him, she's like, you are so well endowed.
Yeah.
Right?
Essentially.
And then basically she's like, can you actually use it at whatever command, and he's like, yeah, it has an on and off switch.
Yeah, really. It's Inspector Gadget over here.
Giggity gig.
What was the word he used? Asimov had to flex some strange word. It doesn't get an erection. It gets a titillation, some weird...
Yeah, it was some weird word that I'm sure on Scrabble you'd get, I don't know how many points.
Yeah, exactly. But it can do it, at will. It never stops, and it's the, lesbian dream.
Yeah, so basically she realizes that having sex with the robot is totally okay and nothing like touching a human and isn't traumatizing to her Solarian upbringing or brain.
Mm-hmm.
And with her robot, she has her first actual orgasm. And
yeah, sorry, it's just so scary that this is, of all of the cool, super high sci-fi stuff, Asimov predicted this, Asimov predicted that. It's like, yeah, this one, you don't even have to think about.
Literally.
Because I just made the lesbians would love it. I'm like, everybody would love it.
Everyone. Like,
yeah. Hey dudes, even these ladyboy interested people.
Everyone.
It's gonna be every combo of, do you have a fembot or this, that? Like, it's gonna have any parts you want, all the parts, multiple parts. Who knows? That is so sad. We're gonna have sex bots way before faster than light travel, way before we colonize Mars. We're gonna have sex bots.
Oh, that's cool. Sorry, scrolling through, I did find a quote from Fast Off, which was a nod to Gaia 1. To jump back a little bit. We labored to produce a planet which, taken as a whole, would obey the 3 laws of robotics. Mm-hmm. It does nothing to harm human beings, either by commission or omission. It does what we want it to do, as long as we do not ask it to harm human beings, and it protects itself, except at times in places where it must serve us or save us, even at the price of harm to itself. Nowhere else, neither on Earth nor other space or worlds, is this so nearly true as here on Aurora, Gaia.
That is a great catch, because with Gaia, they said it's basic. Gaia is playing with the telepathy stuff, and so that's all that's missing on Aurora, is that there's not a telepathic actual connection between everybody and the rocks and the all living things. That's pretty interesting. Good catch.
And I also found where he first talks about psychohistory.
Yeah. You don't have to read it.
Yeah. But
it's in there. But yeah, that's where I left off at. She literally was just talking about how she was having sex with the robot. Now, I'm going to be surprised if he doesn't play with this, the projections being realistic. And for some reason, I wonder if there's going to be jealousy with Daniil or...
It is so interesting that you specifically said that word, and you're going to find that word is problematic later.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
But not in the way you think. You're going to laugh.
Yeah.
You're going to come to me and you'd be like, really?
That's funny. I could see where they don't have... I don't know. I won't speculate further. I will leave it for the future readings. Because I get with the laws and all that stuff, and they're really not people, but obviously Asimov is trying to build up to these robots are starting to have complex interior lives. He even mentions to Giscard that he says something like, oh, that pleases me or something. He's like, oh, you got emotions now? Boy. Like he's commenting, he's picking up on something that we saw in the last book, that like when he meets Daniil.
Well, actually seeing Daniil again,
he's happy again, and Daniil's happy, and it's like, and Daniil keeps saying, I have the proxy of like happiness because I enjoy bringing about my goals that I was designed for.
There's like a little section in here where Daniil's like, I think I would save you because you are my friend. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. No, they've been cute since the beginning.
No, they get I have to admit, they get exceptionally cuter.
Yeah. But even the other robots, even Giscard and even Jander, should have been as good as
Daniil. Cried Bailey, throwing his arms around the robot and hugging tightly. Daniil! A hug this time, I wrote.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because for whatever reason, I really decided to write more notes this time.
Yeah. I like it. I didn't get a chance with much, but there was so much filler.
And shout out to Asimov for finally giving Bailey his C7 rating.
Oh, yeah. You said if he doesn't get it, you're going to riot.
Yeah. Other things that slipped, his son is basically like, so Dad, do you want to go back to Aurora to see that lady?
Yeah,
I think I said it already, but my note said, Bentley, my man.
Mm-hmm. I do like how he's setting up that he's hoping that Bentley could be one of the first of these Earth colonists. He really wants
his son to be one of the first colonizers.
Yeah.
He wants to go with them, but he feels that he can't because he's old.
Yeah. Which I wonder if...
there is kind of a shout out to Sammy, by the way. I don't know if you caught that. Because back in chapter 1, when Bailey's outside, they send a robot out to get him. And he's like, I really hate when they send these things out to come get me.
Yeah.
And like that's how he always felt when Sammy would come with a message and like...
Oh, yeah. That is funny.
Be like, can you stop sending the robot to come get me?
Rest in peace, Sammy.
Daniel was a robot who was so human that Bailey could treat him as a friend and could still miss him. Aww.
You literally wrote all.
Yeah.
I bet. Yep. Didn't even have to look. That's funny. And poor Jander's lying there. Now you're making the joke that what if Jander's just low battery? He just has to charge because nobody was using him like that.
I made the joke because if he's a sex robot, I was like, maybe she just killed the batteries on him.
Yeah. Because who knows? And you said the other Aurorans do bang the robots, but they just don't fall in love with them.
You'll get there. It's not uncommon for them to bang they bang the robots and they see it as masturbating.
Yeah. Okay. It's kind of funny, but that's caught up for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else you want to add. But I'm like, yeah. I know it seems short or abrupt or strange, but that's how the book kind of is. It's very not sticking to the plot. Like I said, the worst part, for sure, if I had to pin down like a real critique review, is that whole conversation that goes on for pages. And you had already been talking to him for chapters, where Fastoff says, you still haven't heard like my theory. And that whole walk he brings up like 3 times. He does not get to the point. And he's like, so you still haven't brought up... I'm like, come on, man. Oh, find your note. Yeah. You wrote a note. I know it might be later, but it's just great for summarizing. We'll try not to bitch so much about what'd you find you showed me in the middle of the night.
That was hilarious.
You know how to find it in there or no?
I'll be able to find it. Give me one. It was a little... You forget I'm kind of ahead of you.
Yeah.
By a decent amount.
For the behind-the-scenes lore... You woke me up to show me this, no?
No, you were falling asleep.
Yeah.
You were falling asleep, and basically I took a note.
Just cuddled up underneath my sheets.
I got you.
Close my eyes.
I'm going to jump to the chapter.
Didn't put on my Lovecraft stories. Shout out to Horror Babble on YouTube. Great audio production. And he does newer versions if you're trying to go for the newer versions. They are better.
For who?
Horror Babble on YouTube. He does audiobook, audio readings, narratings of... Because I laughed. I mentioned this a couple talks back, who knows when, that I listened to Lovecraft stories to go to sleep. Which sounds horrific.
Indeed. Are you under the impression that we are here to engage in a long and complicated discussion on whatever topic you choose to deal with?
Yeah. And yes.
I said, yes.
Mm-hmm. She's like, that is exactly how I would describe the strange, structure of this whole book.
Is exactly that.
He's like, don't you want to hear my opinion on how the fucking brain works on the murder case that this whole book is supposedly based on? Yes, but did you notice the trees? Look at the trees. How odd trees, huh? Do you think trees on Earth are trees and trees? It's like, oh my god, I'm gonna snap.
A note later on is just, I really hate her character so far.
But maybe he's super meta with the book and he's trying to get us to go into, humano block. He's trying to get our positronic human brains to just snap. That's, of course, not it.
Well, he didn't have to write so many.
He's making me go nuts. I'm shorting out like Sammy, like our Sammy.
And literally, I feel like this is a race for me to finish this book as quickly as possible to figure out what convoluted ending is there. Was it worth it?
Yeah, if you guys have suggestions for future, because this is the 3rd book in the series, so we're not sure where we want to go after this. So if we see some comments, we'll see. What do you think? What?
I think we scheduled these out so far.
Oh, that's true. My bad. Whoopsies.
Also, though, that doesn't mean we won't take in...
I know, yeah, no matter what.
We will take in comments for consideration. It just won't
Yeah, it might not be after.
Chronologically,
won't be directly after that.
It won't be directly after
that was pretty funny. Yeah.
We've scheduled the talks out
Mm-hmm.
until like end of...
I don't even know. I don't know. That's a good point. All right, but should we call it, you think? I think we've went through all the notes.
Look,
pretty straightforward.
I hate to be a Debbie Downer. I really love reading.
We're going to be honest.
This one's just kind of killing me. And all the parts that I really want you to get to, you haven't gotten to yet. So I need you to
I know he's going to pack the middle end-ish, really the end, the last couple hours chapters. We'll see. We'll see how he ties it up.
I know. Look, I'm looking forward to the chapter that says, again, Bailey.
Okay.
It's just... Yeah. Actually, again, Daniil and Giscard, and then again, Bailey.
Okay.
I'm not looking forward to talking to Glady again.
Yeah.
Watch me have to take it back.
I know, right? We'll see. All right. Let's call it there. We'll pick it up on the next one. We'll see how far we get. If it's going to be 3 talks or 2 talks. But either way, we'll see you in the next one.
Seeing as how... Yeah. I'm going to put my money on 2 talks, but I guess it's going to depend on how far you get.
Yeah. We'll see. Probably 2.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. See you in the next one.
Bye, guys. Bye.